All right, everybody, if you have not already, please silence your phone and put it away, and we'll get started. So I got to work with Zoe this year, and her project combines fashion, social media marketing, and event planning. And her senior project is unique in that instead of being a solo endeavor, she worked actually with a team of other students from other high schools in Austin, and she had a particular role on that team. And so taking on a senior project means that you start with an idea and then it evolves over time. And I think especially when you're working with other people, there's a lot that you can control and there's a lot that you can't control. And so I'm gonna not give any spoilers and let Zoe explain to you what Threadfair is. But I do want to say that we all see how much leadership Zoe takes on here at Griffin School, and I just want to applaud her for stepping into the wider Austin community.
Fashion, design, charity, student-run, style. These are all words that I've used to define Threadfair over the past few months. They litter our hashtags and breach our captions, trying to create an image for the general public that they can latch onto. I wanted them to skim the blue-toned hashtags and know exactly what we were about. Except I didn't know. I joined Threadfair on a whim last year, a plea from a close friend due to a desperate need for models to revive an organization's dying fire. At its peak, Threadfair boasted shows of 30 designers and over 60 designs. Our models walked real runways and raised thousands upon thousands of dollars for Dress for Success Austin. We were a well-known name in the Austin high school fashion scene. Every up-and-coming designer wanted to design for Threadfair, and now we're scattered. COVID-19 killed us just as it killed thousands of others of organizations. Now, I sit behind my computer screen and try to convince people to join while simultaneously balancing all other requirements of an ambitious high school senior. A rigorous course load, student council duties, planning prom, photo editing for the school yearbook, college applications, the list goes on and on. I've tried to figure out how to balance it all, how to create a successful social media campaign with no training whatsoever, and I've stumbled throughout the process. As I've struggled to reinvigorate Threadfair, I've come to realize that the organization lacks a vision. We needed a mission statement, a set of beliefs and principles, things we are for, and more importantly, things we are against. So this is me defining Threadfair. We are against the fat-shaming standards of typical high fashion. Our models don't have to be 5'10" size zeros. We are against the brutal and inhumane working conditions of fast fashion industry. Far too many companies now utilize overseas sweatshops that exploit their workers as a means to maximize their profit. This is not fashion, this is cruelty. We believe in community, charity, and the arts. We strive to uplift everyone, from nervous first-time designers to experienced teenage seamstresses. Threadfair is experimentation. It is fashion in its truest form. Passion, love, and dedication to the craft. This is Threadfair. This is a piece I wrote back in November of 2023 when I was trying to define Threadfair and what it meant to me. And I'm sure that despite that introduction, you're all wondering what Threadfair is. Well, today we'll be discussing just that. Along with my role as the social media director, the design choices made within my position, and how my role within the organization evolved over the year. So, what is Threadfair? Threadfair is a student-run charity fashion show that benefits Dress for Success Austin, a nonprofit that supports underprivileged women in their professional careers. As I've mentioned, Threadfair used to be an Austin fashion institution until the COVID pandemic killed our word-of-mouth notoriety. I first joined the organization in my junior year of high school when I was invited to model by Sophia Francis, who's the current director and is pictured above. Earlier this year, she asked me to be the director of social media, and I agreed. So what did my role as social media director look like? Well, my main objectives were the ones listed above. Create a clear brand identity, increase the overall engagement and awareness, and design and coordinate posts. I started with the brand identity. I knew we needed a logo, a new one, and a clear aesthetic. As you can see here, this is the logo I developed, and these are the design elements that came with it. I chose these 4 colors based off the photos from the 2023 show in order to have a consistent complementary color palette. In terms of fonts, I wanted to use fonts that look professional, put together, and very clean. Aberrant fat face was used mostly for headlines or important information such as dates and deadlines, while Montserrat was used for less important text such as subheaders and body text. You will also notice that these fonts have taken in the exact same roles in this presentation. Beyond color palette and typeface, I drew upon collages, film photography, and editorial style layouts for design inspiration. I was particularly drawn to the idea of combining a professional typeface with messy handwriting to create a contrasting effect and draw attention to the designs themselves. Using these elements, here are some designs created during my stint as a social media director. As you can see, they include a mix of handwritten notes, which was mostly done with an iPencil and iPad with the occasional change in typeface, as well as an editorial style photography. The post in the bottom left corner uses a picture of both me and Sophia Francis from a shoot I conducted back in October. During that shoot, we also had an interview, which allowed me to create reels and videos to advertise Threadfair. As I continued to work on the social media side of things, I started listening to an audiobook version of the Hype Handbook by Michael F. Sheen, which is typically regarded as a great introduction into creating buzz around a product or an event. In the book, Sheen emphasizes having a clear brand message that will be easily spread to others. That was what inspired me to write the written piece I read at the beginning of this presentation. Going back to that article, I want to highlight a phrase towards the end of it that I believe that encapsulates what we are trying to achieve at Threadfair. Threadfair is experimentation. It's fashion in its truest form, passion, love, and dedication to the craft. This is the feeling that I, as well as the rest of the management team, strive to achieve during this season. After writing the mini article, my role began to evolve. I was no longer just the social media director. I was now the social media director and co-event coordinator. This meant that my role now involved things such as organizing the ticket sales, creating graphics displayed during the show, obtaining necessary equipment such as video equipment, chairs, tables, all that sorts of things, some food and drinks, and along with that, planning and displaying the silent auction items. During the day of the event, I had to help wrangle models and designers and overall assist with running the event and making sure it went as smoothly as physically possible. On top of that, I'd also gotten roped into modeling, so it was a very, very busy day for me that day. It was also the day of senior prom. So, of course, with all things, I experienced some challenges and setbacks. In order to keep you all visually entertained, I thought I would display them in a fun format, a Venn diagram. So the large overlapping circles are the sources of the setbacks. And the sections of which there's like overlapping parts, that is kind of the issues that they caused. So I personally, towards my second semester, once I had submitted all my college applications, I was starting to struggle with senioritis. And then we also had some issues with getting participants and keeping consistent number of participants, as well as with having clear, consistent communication with both externally and within the management team. So the combo of senioritis and getting participants led to some issues with advertising, because I had these really great advertising ideas that me and Caroline would talk about for several senior project meetings, and then they just never came to fruition because I got really tired and really busy. And then with our issues with consistent and clear communication, as well with getting participants, led to some changing, fluctuating numbers kind of constantly with how many designers we had, how many designs were they doing, how many models do we have, do we need more models, what's going on there? And then the combo of senioritis and consistent communication led to me and Sophia sending a ton of text messages back and forth. It kind of all boiled down to, did you send that email? Was I supposed to send the email? Was I supposed to do that? Were you supposed to do that? And all of these kind of combined into just creating overall chaos, especially the day of. There's a lot going on, during both planning the project and planning the event, and then during the event. My project advisor, Caroline Wilson, was an excellent resource amongst all of this, along with helping me plan posts, organize the 2024 show, and brainstorm solutions for our fluctuating participant numbers. My wonderful advisor, Caroline, and discussed several other topics during our meeting. And here's a list of some of them. Please keep in mind, this is only the things that we discussed thoroughly enough to end up on this presentation. So we were pretty involved in a lot of things that you may not realize we were involved in. And so this led to my senior project kind of morphing more into a general event planning project that focused on how do you create something that people enjoy. And with that, thank you for listening. If you want to see more of my poster designs or you're interested in participating in next year's Threadfair show, please follow us on Instagram at ThreadfairATX. Once again, thank you for listening, and I will now open up the floor for questions. Okay.
So, football, great laundry.
Thank you.
Second is, what, so, what, so, when you pardon this, I get project for a while, and this is what you do now, or does you just, when I say just get in the project, I talk about what this year or last year.
So last year, my junior year of high school, I got involved with Threadbare through modeling for the show. And then this year, I started as just a social media director, so I wasn't modeling, I wasn't doing anything else, I was just working on making sure we had good brand engagement, good brand identity, and that we were being consistent with our posting. But towards the end, we needed a few more people to step in as models, so I offered to step in. So I was doing both social media and modeling at the end. But since I had done modeling last year, it wasn't as much work for me this year.
Are you gonna continue with like event planning and coordinating, or is it just for this?
So I am planning on majoring in sports management and sports and entertainment management in college, which is basically only event planning. There's other stuff involved too, but it's majority event planning. So yes, I do plan on doing a lot more like event planning and coordination in my future. Cleo?
So in that the Venn diagram where you have the 3 different issues, if you could magically fix one of those 3 issues, which one would you fix?
Getting participants. That was probably our biggest issue. This is like kind of top secret, but there was like this group of girls who had like all from a different school that no one knew, who had all signed up as a group and then like last minute pulled out. And like they didn't tell us that they were pulling out, they just ghosted us. So we had this sudden like exodus of like 4 models and then like 2 or 3 like assistants with like hair and makeup. And so if I could magically fix anything, it would be like that those girls didn't just decide to pull out last minute. That would have been very helpful. Any other questions? Yes.
What was the most surprisingly challenging thing that you encountered during this experience?
Ooh, most surprisingly challenging. I think maintaining engagement was surprisingly challenging because there would be times where we would have like incredible spikes in engagement and we would be getting like very consistently a lot of people commenting and liking our posts, but then trying to maintain that engagement and working with the Instagram algorithm could be surprisingly challenging at times, and we go through like weird periods of like lulls and no one like seeing any of our stuff. Yes.
How does your creative process work?
So a lot of my creative process started with like the idea of having kind of a collage, but also like streamlined collage, like very professional looking collage. So a lot of times what I'll do is if I need to make a post, let's say to be like, remind people, oh, we have this deadline coming up. I'll like think about like, okay, here are some of the photos I have, how can I make this into kind of a collage format? And like pull in some aspects of film photography. So a lot of times I'll do things like photos, but with like white borders that kind of mimic the style of a Polaroid. It's a lot of the posts, I just kind of like play with the layout until I like the layout, and there's enough like white space that if I want to do handwritten notes, I can just go and add handwritten notes, and it looks like not too crowded. Johnny?
Do you have any anecdotes about times when everything came together and it just felt great?
Actually, probably here, I'll go back. All right, so there's This group of posts, this was the first group of posts that I ever did. It was one like carousel post, and it was like an introduction to last shows, the 2023 shows designers, and I spent probably a week working on it so that I could like pulling together all the photos. And we had like 20 photos in total from that show, so I had to like crop and edit and duplicate a ton of photos so I could get it to like not look too crazy. Like here, this photo and this photo is actually the same photo, it's just like zoomed in and cropped. And so I felt once I had finished all that and I had gotten things kind of like laid out the way I wanted, and then like all the notes were written, it felt so good and so nice and accomplished. And it was kind of the introduction of like the new look for like our brand, and I really liked how it came out, and I just felt very proud of it. Okay.